Start.
All right. Yo, welcome to Value Town. I'm your host today, Trump, along with my co-host ChanManV, and we've got Hafu as the swirling duck.
Her
I'm
camera said it
sorry. I
just it
don't
just
know.
froze right when we started the intro too. What the heck?
Yep.
Maybe I
Oh,
will
how you doing,
restart.
ChanManV?
Doing well, doing well. We're trying to mix things up today. It's all going to be awesome having Trump host today. Oh, looks like Hafu's getting started, but
Yep. I'm gonna go ahead and wait for Hafu, but let me talk her up while we get her back on the line. So she is the newest member, well, along with, of course, all the others of Cloud9, and just last month she got that top 16 ladder ranking. I believe she hit number 7 or such. 7, yeah.
yeah,
Why is this not
oh, there she is.
working? Why is it saying my webcam is XSplit? I don't even have XSplit anymore. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's
I
okay.
don't. It would just. I didn't open anything.
Yeah,
Just.
Hafu, just try to close off the other programs that use the webcam, and then you might have to restart Skype.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Like we literally, this was all literally ready to
Wow.
go, and then all of a sudden,
I don't,
Skype I think went crazy here.
nothing else uses my webcam. I'm gonna
All right,
just
but
close all the things. I'm so
What's
sorry.
up?
Be right back.
no, it's all
What's
right.
up?
We can
How's
still hear you. That's the important part.
so? How you been, Trump?
I've been good. Doing real well. So, we're gonna talk about. Let's skip the Cloud9 thing while we get Hafu on the line, and then talk about what's going on in ladder-wise. Chris, what you been doing?
Oh, ladder. So last season I tried. I was just torturing myself trying to get a mid-range paladin to actually work, just to get to legend, but that never ended up happening. So this season I'm gonna actually start playing some priest because it's been a while since I played priest. So gonna try and experiment some. Obviously I have a Moz deck. I still think a Moz deck is probably the best one, but I'm still experimenting. It's the early season. I usually like to experiment early season. How about you?
Okay. I'll take some while you try to get rid of my
Yeah, this
giant
is.
face. Let's see. I last season I tried to make it to the top 16 with stuff that I thought was going to be favorable against Miracle Rogue. So I used a bit of Handlock, and then I used a bit of Freeze Mage, and I
Mhm.
used Freeze Mage with Giants, and all of that seemed like it would have a favorable or 50% matchup against, like at worst, against Miracle, but it turns out that 50% isn't enough.
I at one point. So what did you end up? Because at one point I was watching your stream and you were at 20 with
Yeah, the
freeze
highest I
mage.
reached was 13, and
Okay.
then I was like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to hold this spot just by sitting on it. So
Hmm.
played some more. 13 ended up being the highest I got that month.
Okay. And you ended outside the 16.
Yep.
Okay.
But
Still got some
after
time.
that, I started to do some serious training.
Hmm.
So I would just look at Forsen's stream actually, and that's the and I actually did some interesting things. I started streaming his stream because what I try to do is I tend to teach people to, if you want to get better, watch other people's streams and just talk through their moves, see if you would make the same moves. And that ended up, I think, helping a lot.
Hmm.
And I hope it helped people who watched a lot too. And I hope it gave Forsen a few people who recognize his skill and ability more.
What? I just restarted my computer, and it still
It
doesn't
still
work.
says XSplit.
I don't understand.
So XSplit isn't running, right?
No, I don't. Could I install XSplit if you like? I'm not sure why it's doing this.
It's okay. I guess for now. I guess you can keep fiddling it, but we can just continue. I have a picture of you at least now.
All right.
So it might
Sorry,
be okay.
friends.
It's okay.
Yep. Well, welcome on, Hafu. You're a bit
Thank
still, but
you.
that's okay. And
Well,
of course, those who don't
still.
know Hafu, you're under a rock, and she's one of the premier arena players, one of the highest win rates out there, and recently constructed pro. She joined on to Cloud9. How are you feeling, Hafu?
I am devastated that this webcam is not working. But I'm great. Thank you for having me on here, and what a kind introduction.
Yeah, what's it like
Awesome.
being on Cloud 9 now? Yes, last
Yeah.
week we had Nimsh and Ecop over.
Um, well, we actually haven't done much as a team just yet. It's just a really recent thing, but I'm super excited to work with them. I think we have our first team session thingy tomorrow, so we'll see what happens, I suppose. But I'm excited. They're all really, really great players, so I'm thrilled to be on the team with them.
So
Oh
did
boy.
you have plans to be like when did you start looking for a team?
I had heard that a couple teams were looking for players, TSM, Cloud9, Fnatic, like a bunch of just, big name teams. And I thought, I don't know. I was super hesitant to look for a team and kind of pursue constructed since I'm really competitive, and if I get into something, I never want to half-ass it. I want to give it my 100%. And being a full-time streamer, I didn't know if I wanted to dedicate that kind of time into doing that since I already have a job. So it's like a second job, and I've done the pro thing before. I know how much time and effort it takes. So I was just super hesitant, but Jack actually approached me with this team and they said, "Hey, we have these four players and they'd love to have you as a fifth. What do you think?" And when he listed the roster, I was like, "Yes, yes, I do want to do that." And yeah, just kind of rolling with it now.
Overall, is it that much different for you as a streamer, being in
Um,
this competitive type of mindset versus just more entertain? I guess more of an entertainer.
um, well, it's just another like being a streamer, you can kind of just play whatever you want. You can do whatever you want,
Yeah.
and you don't have to answer to anyone. And being on a team, you kind of have to actually learn the game. I mean, I think that I'm a really good Miracle Rogue, and I can play like Druid, and I can play a bunch of decks mediocrely. Is that a word?
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I'm a little bit distracted because I'm just trying to figure. I don't understand
It's
why
okay.
this webcam. I'm
Don't
just
don't worry about it. Just
furiously.
don't even bother with it.
Okay.
We'll just go the rest of the show like
Oh,
this.
so sad. I was
It's
gonna show
okay.
off the C9 hoodie, but
Oh, that's
I
right. That's
know,
right.
man.
We'll try to fix it
Um,
on break when we take a break.
all right, all right. Shoot, what were we talking about? Oh yeah. Okay, so I don't know. I'm super competitive, and if I'm going to be on a team and I go to tournaments, I want to do well. So now I'm kind of furiously trying to learn decks. I am staying away from Miracle Rogue. I have to, just kind of be bad on stream, which is kind of hard to do. Like everyone
No,
can watch
absolutely.
you make
Yes.
mistakes and
I
they're
know.
like, "How is this person? How is this person legend? Like I'm rank 14 and I would have seen that lethal that this person was in." And yeah,
Yep.
I mess up a lot and to get better, you have to make mistakes. You have to admit that you're not the best. You have to admit that when you're wrong and you got to learn from it. And like once you miss lethal that one time with that one situation, you like never miss it again because it just feels so terrible. So,
Well,
but
the
you have
good
to do it.
players stop missing it,
Yeah.
but that's what you got to have the attitude to always learn from your mistakes and
Hmm.
to
Yeah,
just.
absolutely. And yeah, that's kind of frustrating. I just played like 14 hours of Handlock yesterday, and it
Hmm.
was my first time playing that deck, and I am terrible. But yeah,
Well,
I just gotta keep doing that. Gotta keep fight the urge to go back to Miracle and just stomp people. Just fight the urge to do something I already know how to do. Um, really learn.
hmm.
Yeah, sorry, what were
Okay.
you saying?
No, I was gonna say, yeah, I saw you and Strifegro yesterday, right? He was on your stream and
Yes,
coaching, and
and
that's and
Kalento.
Kalento. Oh, I didn't see Kalento. Great,
Yeah,
awesome. Teammates
they're
helping you out already. That's great.
yeah, they are awesome. That was the first time I ever talked to Kalento,
Hmm.
in a Skype call at least, and he's really really nice, really really insightful, just really smart. Like both of them are just amazing players, as everyone knows. So it's pretty cool to have them as my coach.
Is this practice of handlock some greater motivation? Are you going to see Hafu in some tournaments?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I mean, joining C9 comes with the hope of going to tournaments and hopefully doing well in tournaments. So crunch time starts now.
Hopefully we can have you on Deck Wars. I'd love to. Have been asking you for ages now
I
to be on Deck
know.
Wars. You just
Again,
tell me no every time, and
yeah.
then
It's just I just don't. I'm so scared to mix the two. Again, I've done the pro thing with World of Warcraft and Bloodline Champions,
hmm
and I just know how much time and effort and blood and sweat and tears, and especially like qualifying for this season, it was super stressful.
hmm
I mean, I've done the freaking BlizzCon qualifiers for World of Warcraft, and it's just. Can I swear on this show? Or should I try not to? It's just
sure.
absolute trash on the last day. Um, everyone is playing. Everyone is playing, and you're,
Yeah.
you're like at rank 5, and you still don't feel safe, and just, I
It's
don't
a
know.
cool.
It's just,
It's a great thing, though, right? I mean, it's like
yeah,
it's a
but
lot of
I,
energy on the ladder. I know it's stressful for you as a player, for
I
sure, but
played 16 hours on that day. I did not sleep, and
wow.
again, like this kind of
Yeah.
stuff, it just cuts into my job as a streamer, right? Like I
hmm
have this really good thing going. I'm really happy. I don't have to answer to anyone. I don't have to like be the best to do what I love. And as as a pro gamer, right? Like that you have to win.
Yeah.
You have to do well. Um, to
Okay, so why do it then? Because there's a lot of things that you just mentioned there.
why do it?
hmm
Because I believe that with a proper team, and if we practice a lot and we're able to help each other, that I would be able to be successful as hopefully we all are able to be successful.
hmm
And
Yeah, I wish you the best of luck in this tournament play. Speaking of tournaments, one recent controversy that has hit the Hearthstone community by storm is the IeSF tournament.
Yep.
So initially, when it came out, it was stated that there was going to be a men's division and a women's division, and only men could participate in the Hearthstone tournament. And this caused a bit of an uproar. What are your thoughts on that, Chris?
My thoughts on the tournament originally being men only, especially for Hearthstone, I thought it was kind of ridiculous. I mean, I didn't really know the reasoning behind it, just the reasons they ended up giving, but I just think that there's no reason to have any tournaments that are male or female only when it comes to like these big events, particularly. There's no reason for it because in Hearthstone, there's absolutely no there's no reason I could even think of that you could give to actually separate the two. So I thought that was pretty crazy, and obviously some more things followed, which I'm sure you'll get to in a second there, Trump. But that was my initial reactions.
Yeah, what were your initial reactions on that, Hafu? Did you keep up with this?
yeah, I was actually made aware of this before Reddit was, and I thought it was kind of ridiculous. Although it's not a tournament that I personally would have attended regardless, so wasn't super enraged. But I just think it's pretty silly. Like gender specific tournaments in general, I find are pretty silly. Um, yeah, I don't think we should be segregating that.
Well, my stance is that they're silly to an extent. I actually do support the addition of some amount of female tournaments, and the good news is ISF recently announced that their tournament is no longer just for men,
hmm
so even the females can compete now. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think Blizzard got involved with it, and they wanted to make sure that Hearthstone is open to everybody. They're really huge on it being accessible to everybody, and it's going to carry over into esports too. And I think they had a say in talking to those guys and having them, maybe part of the reason why they ended up changing it too. So that's pretty interesting. That were pretty cool that Blizzard would come in and give their opinion on that too. Um,
Yeah, part
so
of me hopes to see the best of it and be like, oh, they just were misguided,
mhm.
and they thought that in order to promote esports as like more as more what competitive, as more secure, as more what's the word I'm looking for, as more legitimate. Ah, yes,
Legitimate. There.
that they
Okay.
would just split it up into men and women. But the thing is, as Hafu well knows, there's no difference between men and women on the internet, and there's no reason why they should be excluded. And I think female tournaments are a good enough thing in order to just promote the inclusion of more females into
Mm-hmm.
gaming, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, in that kind of sense, I think that's okay. I had this discussion at a panel that I was at, and I was actually on a panel with four girls, and I was the only one that really did not agree that we should have female only tournaments. But they brought up really good points saying that it's a good way for girls to feel comfortable enough to compete. You know, like if you go to a tournament, if you've ever been to like an MLG or a DreamHack, there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys. And you often get, I don't know, at least I remember my first time going to one and I just felt extremely out of place because there's just like a lot of men and then like really, really gorgeous booth babes. And then there was me and it was like awkward and 17 and I just really felt out of place. Um, and especially if it's like an open tournament, I just don't think I would sign up if I didn't think that, you know, if I had not already qualified or like was on a team, there's just no way that I would just enter for
Enter
fun.
what? You mean a female only tournament?
No, no, no,
Or
like an open bracket MLG. I just wouldn't feel comfortable
oh,
just
okay,
playing
right.
against other people. I mean, back then, now it's like whatever, but I can totally understand why girls are hesitant.
Right. So creating more of a safe place for the females to compete
Yeah.
in like a tournament. Okay, can
Right,
see
so
that.
onto that, I actually watched your panel discussion at NYU, which is where I came from, so I just naturally had to tune in. Plus, you were on it, one of my favorite streamers. So, what did that change your? How did it change your mind on female-only tournaments?
I mean, I on one end I can understand having like community tournaments or like where the prize pool is like a high five and like riot points or 10 Hearthstone
Ah,
packs. But
okay.
you know, if we're going to the extreme, let's say like there was a all male tournament for BlizzCon, $100,000 or $250,000 prize pool, right? And there's an all female prize pool of $250,000. That'd be outrageous. Like I would feel like that would be unfair and stupid.
Well, I think in the current state of things, I would agree with you. But what
Well,
if
why
down
would they
the
ever
what?
segregate it? Why would you ever segregate something that, you know, and
Mhm.
like in sports, we're physically different, right? Men and women are physically different. So men have an advantage
It's a
in many.
huge debate. Yeah,
Well,
that's true.
okay, I
True.
don't know. I don't follow sports enough, but I
Yeah.
can understand why you don't put like, I don't know, a male rugby team and a female rugby
Yeah.
team on the field. Like, I don't know. To me, that seems just like just unfair, right?
Hmm.
But in Hearthstone, it doesn't matter like what your body type is, because it's just your brain
Yeah.
that matters. And I don't know if you want to get into like the if men are smarter than women, women are smarter than men, all that crap. I don't
Right.
know. I personally don't buy it, and I think that girls can compete on an equal footing.
I guess so. On that note, because you brought up like some of the physical things, which I think are valid points when it comes to real sports. One of the things with IESF is that it covers a lot of esports, right? Not just Hearthstone, and some of them happen to be StarCraft 2 and some of the fighting games like Tekken and Street Fighter. With those type of games, do you think there should still be that type of segregation? I mean, is there actually a physical difference there, in your opinion, when it comes to that type of mechanics?
I personally don't play fighting games,
Hmm.
so I don't have the experience to say. But in all the games that I've played competitively, I never really noticed like a you need a physical, you know, like I
Hmm.
never felt like I was at a disadvantage because I'm a girl. Other than just
Yeah.
the community perceiving you a certain way. Like I would say that's like the biggest block. I mean, I almost didn't become a streamer because I was so scarred from putting myself out there as a 17-year-old girl
Yeah.
in the gaming community. I mean, people are brutal. I mean, not just to girls, but just in general, they're brutal. And
But
then
especially to girls.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, everyone knows, and the debate was always like, "Oh, you know, grow tougher skin. You're on the internet, whatever. Why do you care?" Blah 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 blah. But I think a lot of people would just rather not have to deal with that kind of thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I personally tried a voice changer when I played World of Warcraft, just to try to kind of fit in more. But
Really? Wow.
yeah, I mean, I've tried everything. I mean, originally, people didn't take me seriously because I was like a 14-year-old girl, and no one wanted to play arenas with me. And
Wow, that is so epic. It's like a modern day Mulan.
I mean, I didn't. I found a random rogue, asked him to play twos, and I didn't even like talk on the mic until we hit top 20. And then he was like, "Oh, you're a girl." I was like, "Yep." Hello. And then went from then, just kept winning and winning. But um, I don't know. I definitely can relate to every girl who feels uncomfortable. And a lot of girls actually ask me, they're like, "How do you do that? How do you like put yourself out there?" And I don't know. It's because I love games, and I think there's plenty of girls who love games.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
and we should get these girls to, and we should encourage them to play. But I
yeah.
think, like, this is the main argument for a female only, like, just to get them in, and then, like, they get more comfortable with more of their kind, like, and then go from there.
Yeah, just kind of build from there. It's all about growing the space, right? And growing, and the females are a huge part of gaming. I forget what the actual percentage is when you're talking about just overall gamers and how
It's
much are
supposed to be
females.
like
It's like
40-60, but I don't buy that.
I think it's actually closer to 55, even higher than that
I
with the
mean, doesn't that
females.
Depends on
statistic include like phone games?
Yeah, if you include
exactly.
mobile games, but what's wrong with that? I mean, Hearthstone's a mobile game too, so that should be that should be taken into the formula these days.
But
And
we're talking about competitive games, right?
yeah,
I thought
we're
that was
talking of competitive games, but just growing gaming, I think grows competitive, like just competitive games too, and introduces more and more females to the space. Because I think right now with the growth of mobile, we're starting to introduce just gaming period to females, and I think the next step is they'll become just introduction to the competitive side of it. So I think that's going to happen more and more, and we'll get a chance to see it. And games like Hearthstone, which are going to be on the actual devices themselves, will encourage it too. And Hearthstone's actually very accessible. It's a card game, right? Like you said, it's just about smartness and just smarts and just more mental than anything else when it comes
absolutely.
to it. So it's going to be amazing. It's going to be the perfect venue for females and males to compete against each other. And yeah, I think there should be more. I'd like to see somebody organize a female only event. That'd be great. That'd be cool to
I
see.
I think it's fine, but again, like I think that should just be a community thing. I would
Yeah,
I would be very
exactly.
upset if there was like a female
As a community.
pro league.
Okay.
Personally, I would
Okay.
feel offended by that actually.
What do you think about their reason? So one of the reasonings that they had for being male only IESF is that it's like one of the rules in accordance to the South Korean based IESF, and it had something. Their reasoning was that it had something to do with trying to get esports into the Olympics, and with the Olympics, there's like separation between male and female. So, it, what do you think of that?
What, the
Well,
Olympics?
Yeah, that's what the reasoning. That's one of the reasons that they give.
again,
It's
we're
like,
talking physical
yeah, yeah.
differences versus,
That's where it kind of like gets gray, I guess, when it
right?
comes to Olympics.
I mean, again, I think in sports, the main argument is just we're built differently. We have different body types, right? Like just it's just what
Sure,
it
it was
is.
a weird reasoning. That's kind. I just
And
went. That's it was kind
how
of
can you
interesting.
compare those things? Like it's an e-sport. Do you guys click faster than us? Is that a thing? Do you have to click super fast in Hearthstone? Get those miracle rogue abilities up?
That's right. Those BM abilities. Yeah.
Yeah. Spam emotes faster. I don't know. It
Yeah.
just I mean even in games that require um like I don't know, StarCraft 2 with Scarlet, right? Like
Hmm.
I don't know. Ah, I just
Yeah. It's kind of a gray area when it comes to like
meh.
Olympics and stuff like that. So be interesting.
All right, let's move on. So this general stuff is like, okay. Uh, I think it's great that men and women are equal on the digital world.
Hmm.
Let's move on to some Naxxramas news, or lack thereof. So,
For once,
one
there's
of the
less.
things that was at least released just today, a few minutes ago, was the Hearthstone Naxxramas lore. Well, not just Hearthstone, but Naxxramas lore in general. And I, as a World of Warcraft raider, got a bit of nostalgia when looking up all those bosses. Chanman, you told me earlier that you only rated up to Molten Core and Blackwing Lair. Is that right?
Yeah, I pretty much I played World of Warcraft the first year and a half it came out, and then at that point, then real life kind of hit. So I had some kids and stuff like that. So I got to stop doing raids and that sort of bit at that time. So I didn't get to Nax. I never got a chance to play to
Okay.
raid Nax.
All right, Mr. Casual. How about Hafu?
Oh,
You did
thanks, man.
any rating in WoW?
Oh, I think I played Nax. Was that the one with Patchwork?
Yep.
Yeah, I think I did. I don't remember. It was so long ago. I'm sorry.
Well, Naxxramas for me was like one of the best raids, nostalgia-wise, because it's the last one of vanilla WoW, and I think it was
Yeah.
just comparatively one of the hardest experiences. My guild couldn't actually make it past the Four Horsemen. It was super tough. But for those of you who don't know anything about how the World of Warcraft bosses go, and check out the lore, they're actually really cool. And you can see some hints about what the four bosses are going to be like. I can only imagine they're going to emulate much of their abilities in Hearthstone. How do you think it's going to translate over, Chanman?
Just what the bosses?
Yep.
I mean, I think like what you said is just going to be. I mean, again, like I'm not too familiar with Naxxramas itself as a dungeon, but I think they're going to try to mirror it as much as possible and integrate it into, just hero powers and even the design of the heroes. What's really cool of what we've seen so far is that I think each of the dungeons and each of the bosses are going to create a different type of problem for you, and you'll have to solve it in a different way versus just like straight up just playing how we would play constructed right now against a different person. So I think that's really cool, and I think they're going to integrate the same thing that kind of theme with what has currently been in Naxxramas in World of Warcraft.
Your thoughts, Hafu? You gonna enjoy the Naxxramas adventures?
I'm more excited about the cards than the actual storyline or the wings than beating the bosses. I think it'll be cool to have new content, but yeah, I'm excited about the new cards and the new decks that we'll see.
Yeah, it's all about the new cards. For a lot of us, actually, we're
right.
just looking to advance this metagame.
Sorry, I
Uh,
think my webcam officially broke. I've been. Ah,
It
it's
broke?
broken.
Oh no,
I
that
don't
sucks.
know. It can't be recognized. Does not It's. Sorry, I don't want to cut into the show. Go ahead.
it's
Continue.
It's
okay.
okay.
Word is that one of your sponsors makes webcams, yeah?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
That's
true.
very
That's
exciting.
true.
Good stuff. All right. On other news, this one's a little bit more sad. Recently, Chanman has been under a bit of controversy
Yes.
from the Reddits. For those of us not in the know, even though you've explained it already and
Yep.
unfiltered in your own video blog, why don't you give us a quick rundown, and then I'll give my quick opinion on it.
Yeah, it's been a really long week actually, and a quick rundown is somebody basically that I was using alts on Reddit to help promote some of the threads, and in the past, like when in my StarCraft space, and then recently I've done a little bit of it in Hearthstone too, and that's kind of the gist of it, and I kind of went into explaining it again in the video, and the only thing I want to say actually on Value Town is because we talked about it kind of ad nauseum is that I know you guys a lot of you guys are disappointed about it. Some of you guys have lost trust in me, and I'm really regretful for that because I this community is very important to me, not just for making money and that sort of thing. It's not that. I mean, does it have a little bit to do with it nowadays since I'm doing it more full time? Yes. But is it the only reason why I'm doing this for you guys? No. Like, it's absolutely not. Like, I do this content and everything because I want to see this community grow. I want to see this esport grow into something that's amazing because I think the game is amazing. So, for those of you folks that are disappointed and again that have lost my trust, I'm going to do everything I can to regain that trust from you guys. I'm going to do as much as I've done in the past and more, even at a higher rate and harder to like try to gain that trust from you guys. So expect more events from me. Expect, we'll keep doing all these shows, and I'm going to try my best to get that trust back from you guys.
All right. Wow. Thank you, Chanman. That was very touching. And I myself, when I heard the news, I was at first like very incredulous. I was like, nah, it didn't happen. I'm gonna have to check it out after the stream. And then I checked it out, and I was kind of disappointed to find out that it was all real. But ChanMan has done quite a lot for the community, and sometimes you make a misstep, and he's admitted it, and he got his due punishment, I think. And it sucks, but that's how it goes.
Hey,
So,
does my webcam work?
everyone, I'm ready to move on from that.
See me?
And welcome
Yeah.
Hafu. Oh my gosh, got her
Well-
webcam on.
Nah, I'm using Jake's webcam.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
I mean, it's completely fair, Trump, and I appreciate the support too. And I actually, one thing I want to add too is I appreciate the support from a lot of folks too. So a lot of people have reached out and just, just kind of told me that they support me in all this, and I want to make sure that those people are recognized too, and it means a lot to me. All right, I'm trying
Yeah.
to get your webcam on actually. Hafu, while
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
doing this,
sorry.
so this is.
When it comes to Reddit, I completely understand what they did. I think they're on the right of it, of course. And it's just the way that Reddit is designed. I find their ideals to be great. Just not allowing, just making sure that everyone has their own equal say. And I hope that that leads them to success, unlike other sites which came before them and failed because they may have failed to do so. All right.
Great.
Got Hafu on. Now we can talk about the meta. So,
Oh, what
Hafu,
a
you got the
fun
most
meta.
experience with this. You
Yeah,
played
that's
a
true.
lot the last season, especially at the end, and you have a lot of experience playing against like the top 16 and the top legend players. So, what is the meta right now?
Miracle Rogue and things that beat Miracle Rogue.
Yeah.
So, on the last day, I don't know, on the last week, it was kind of crazy. You would see really, really different decks. So, like, no matter what you played, you would run into a counter. So there's like the Miracle Rogues, and then there's like the Aggro Rogues that destroy the Miracle Rogues. And then there's decks that destroy aggro, so like really slow druids, and then the Miracle Rogues farm the druids who are farming the rogue. I don't know. It's just this. You couldn't find a deck that just like won against everything on ladder. And then there's like obviously Zoo, and then Handlock, and then like random aggro pally, slow pally. I don't know. I've seen it all. Like freeze mage is a thing, as you guys know.
Yeah.
People say it counters Miracle. I actually don't disagree.
I think the straight freeze does better than like the
giants?
giant ones against a miracle if you can get that vaporized timed decently. But
Oh, I suppose the ones that run vaporize, but yeah, it's just a race to get minions out, and I think like when the list first came out, no one knew how to play against it because Miracle is just like, oh, I just kill you, and then they're like,
yeah.
LOL, ice block, and then yeah, I think if you just shadow step your Earthens after he Alex draws you, it's like pretty hard to lose.
That's
They just
true.
mill themselves.
Yeah.
They fatigue, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that is a bit of an interesting thing about the Freeze Mage. I think part of its success was because it was a bit of a new thing, so people didn't quite know how to play against it, especially the Miracle Rogue. So for a while, it did very well against the Miracle Rogue, but then Miracle Rogue started doing these things like saving those Earthen Ring Farseers, like Hafu said, and then like shadow stepping them, and then they get out of range. And ChanMan,
Yeah.
you tried to play a Paladin.
Oh, God.
What kind of problems did you face due to the meta?
So the paladin, the biggest issue with the paladin I was playing. So I was trying to play a mid range paladin just because, after season 1 finals of Deck Wars and watching Strife Crow in particular play these mid range shamans and obviously his druid, which he's famous for, kind of got inspired just to really get better at that type of just more fundamental play. Just straight up board control and somewhat value, somewhat just correct play, and I definitely make mistakes when it comes to that. So I kind of wanted to force myself into that. So I ended up playing Shaman like I think previous season, got Legend with that. So I wanted to kind of do that with Paladin too, to see if I could do it as a challenge. And the thing I ran into it most was aggro is tough to deal with as a Paladin, given that there's just not, unless you're playing like a Shakadin, there's just not very many small minions that you can play and really make sense with the rest of the Paladin components. So you kind of rely on just huge removal with equality and pyro and just a lot of the options, right, with equality. So that was an issue, and also like I think a lot of the successful decks in the current metagame have huge bursts at the end. And the only thing that kind of emulates that with the Paladin is Avenging Wrath, like two turns with Avenging Wrath in a row, that type of thing, instead of like one turn that does 16. And that's, I think, a huge issue just with Paladin in general. Like if you're playing anything outside of a super aggro Paladin.
All right, that was very insightful. And it's time to drop some stats.
All
So I
right.
was just looking up my last month of play, the last 30 days, and that'll cover most of the June metagame. So apparently, of the, how many games did I play? Wow, almost 500. 281 plus 212, that's 493. So almost 500. I played Freeze Mage, 50% of those, and
Wow.
the
Okay.
highest I hit was, no, I mean, I played it, and I got to like top 13 at the highest, but the opponents' heroes that I played against were, looks like about 50% are Rogue plus Warlock. It turns out there were 26% Rogue and 22% Warlock. It'd be interesting to split up the Rogue and the Warlock since there were two very different decks,
Mm-hmm.
the Aggro Rogue and the Miracle Rogue, and the Zoo Warlock and the Handlock.
And
And then there
Murlocs.
was 18% Druid. So essentially, about two-thirds of the metagame was Warlock, Rogue, and Druid. And I think that does hold somewhat true to the start of this season, although at the
Mm-hmm.
start of this season, I have been seeing some rather interesting things. And the last remaining pieces are just 7% Warrior, 7% Paladin, actually, 6%
Wow.
Shaman, 6% Mage, 5% Hunter, and in last place, 3% Priest, with actually 16 sightings. So it was, everything was
I'm
represented
surprised.
to some
Yeah.
amount.
Yeah, I'm surprised Warrior and Shaman were 7%. Wow, that's really low. I thought,
Warrior gets destroyed by
yeah.
Rogue.
Oh, I know it does. I just thought it might be a tiny bit higher than that. Wow, that's cool. With the Freeze Mage, Trump, did you play the Giant version, or did you just? I saw you play a little bit of Giant at the end, or the Giant version at the end. Did you play any straight Freeze?
I did play the straight freeze to begin with. Otter actually came on my stream. Thank you, Otter, to
Nice.
teach me the ins and outs of his version, which was the giantless version. And then afterwards, I was thinking, I actually got up to a pretty high rank with that, maybe somewhere around 20. And
Mm-hmm.
then I started falling off mostly because my matchup against Miracle Rogue wasn't as good as I would expect.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, the Druid was tough, and the Warrior was an auto lose. So I was like, I'm going to try this Giant thing. Might make me not auto
Yeah.
lose against Warrior. It's going to make the Druid matchup better because they can't remove it, hopefully. And it's going to make the Miracle Rogue matchup better because the reason they have problems with Handlock is that there's no easy way to remove those Giants. Um, Unfortunate, and it worked. It got me up to like top 13 for a moment, but then I fell again. It's really tough to hold that consistent win percentage up there. So the
Yeah, it
jury's
is.
out on that, basically, but it's certainly an option.
I mean, that's a good question to ask Hafu. So Hafu, you finishing seventh, but you were number two on the second to last day because I remember that, and I remember
Oh my
Forsen.
god.
Forsen was on Pro Corner that day, and he was saying that Hafu was like right on his tail, and or you were right on his
What?
tail. Yeah, that's
How
what he
did you
told me.
know?
Or I mean, you were number two and he was number one, and so that's what he was telling us. And
Oh,
so
I
yeah,
didn't care about number one.
it,
I just
t-
wanted to qualify.
yeah, right, exactly. But talk about staying in there. Like how, like what is the winning percentage you have to even get to
Um,
that
I,
spot?
I actually don't use a stat tracker. I'm gonna install one probably before next time I play.
Hmm.
I didn't know how important it was, but that is important to see what you are winning and losing against. And it's really hard because in this game, I'm used to playing games where if you're just better, you just win,
Hmm.
right? Like you
Yeah.
don't. If you lost, it's your own misplay. And in Hearthstone, you can misplay and lose. But in Hearthstone, you can also just draw poorly and lose.
Hmm.
And so you have to distinguish, am I playing badly or was that truly an unlucky game? And you have to be very unbiased about that. Because the second you're just misplaying, you should stop. There's no point in continuing if you're going to throw away games that you could have won. Because it's actually like a two games or three game swing almost. Because by losing, you have to win two more to make up for that
Oh,
one loss that you would have
yeah,
won
3.
anyway, right? So it's like
Mhm.
this, every loss is devastating. But I actually started at rank 37 for the day, tanked down to 450. I think that's the lowest I have ever been. I
Wow.
just got destroyed over and over and over by aggro rogue.
Yeah.
Switched to aggro hunter, which apparently does not beat aggro rogue. Switched to switched to slowed like double savage roar druid with like a stranglethorn tiger, which is actually pretty cute against miracle rogues. And that actually did okay against aggro rogue,
Okay.
and it did okay against miracle. But then I would lose to like slower druid decks, right? Because
Hmm.
there's taunts, and you're like, well, crap. And then I don't know. You just keep trying to change decks, and then I was like, you know what? I'm not even really great at all of these. I should just go back to what I know.
Hmm.
And I made a list. Actually, Fireback gave me his list. Who got it from? Suichi? Is that his name? I'm sorry. I want to credit the people who
Who is it?
deserve the credit. Suichi? Is that how you say it?
Suichi?
It's like Suiche. It's
Suichi.
his list. Apparently,
Okay.
him and Fireback came up with it, but it has like an Assassin's Blade and a Senjin and like a no mission
Oh,
enter.
yeah. Yeah, I know
So,
what list you're talking about.
yeah, so I used that one, even though like Forsen's list made sense since he got to rank one, right? Like,
Hmm.
if he can do it, then it's probably very viable. Um, and yeah, I just used that, kept winning, and I literally, I don't think I lost a single game between rank 250 to 2. So
How many games do you think that
that
was?
was like, I was
That's
delirious at that
crazy.
point. I played 16 hours straight. Like, I didn't even eat. I bought a sandwich and it just, like, I threw it out because 16
Wow.
hours later I did not want to eat the
Wow.
sandwich. Yeah, I just got a coffee. I was just like, playing, and oh God, every loss is so
I
devastating.
know, that's what I mean. It's like
Oh my God.
you had
At
to
rank
win.
20, there's like a wall, and you're at rank 26, you're like, oh, I won one. And you look at your rank 26, just like, what? It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
So are we talking like 20 and 0 type of stuff?
Um,
Like a rank, just generally speaking. Like if you were just to, just off the top of your head, what you think it might be, going
um,
from 40, whatever you were, 200 something to
I know
two.
from like rank 100, it was about 15 games.
Oh my gosh, that's brutal.
I mean, there
That
was this
is.
one jump, like you get through the 30s where everyone is, because everyone's clumped up there. You
Hmm.
get through the 30s, and then from like 11, I went from 11 to 6, and then 6 to 2, and then I stopped. So it was just that wall. I think I played like 5 or 6 games between rank 30 and 20,
Hmm.
or 20 30, I guess. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, oh, it was just, oh, my last game was against Hyped on his stupid Smurf. I was so pissed because it was a Miracle Rug mirror, which is just a coin flip, and he's really good, right? He doesn't mess up. When you play like someone like that, they just don't
Hmm.
mess up.
Right.
And he had kill on. I was pretty sure I was dead the next turn. I had 14 health. He had like a stealth auctioneer on board, and my one draw was Leroy Jenkins, 1 in 9, and I got it. And then I just screamed and ran around my room. Yay!
I think that entire speech from Hafu is it just goes to show what it takes to be like to have a competitive mindset. You gotta really feel pain each time you lose, and not like just
Hmm.
crap, this game sucks pain, but that kind of pain where you just want to keep looking out, make sure you didn't make mistakes, and just keep getting better. And
You have to really distinguish whether you just sucked that game and if like what line of play was correct. If there was a line of play that you could have won, and was it statistically correct to take that line of play? It's
Right.
like so many things, and you try not to be biased, and you're pissed off because that guy top decked you, and Leroy is
Do you
bullshit.
do you get tilted at all? Like
Of course.
often? I mean, what do you usually do? Do you just stop playing? Or do you
No,
power
I'm
through it? Because some
really
people power through it, right? And
I power through it, but I slow down. I take my hands off my mouse. Because like when
mm,
I'm tilted, I play quickly because I'm annoyed. And what I just started doing was just like, okay, think about my move, think about it out loud.
yeah.
Does this make sense? And then do the move. And it's like really hard to do that. I don't know why it's so hard to do that. But I feel like when I'm tilted, I just want to get the turnover. Like this is the right move. And if you take a step back, like the right move in one turn might not be the right turn for the game. I don't know. There's just too many factors. No sleep, and you just need good luck, and you need to play well. Like, but you definitely need both of those things. It's not just you can just be like a great player and just get to rank the top 16 in like an hour. Like I don't think anyone would bet on that they could win 15 games in a row because it's Hearthstone, right? Like
Yeah.
we
Especially
all have
nowadays, there's
jobs.
more and more users every single day too. So more and more
Right.
competition every season. So
Yeah, I think this game is so frustrating. That's like another reason why I didn't want to go competitive in it. I'm used to like if I work really hard and I'm becoming like if I'm the best, then I can win. And I know that I go to a tournament and I expect to win, right? Like
right.
that's an expectation, or at least I have like a very good shot at winning. Whereas I don't feel that way that that's the case in Hearthstone. And maybe that's just my inexperience as a card game player, but it just feels like, oh, I could beat players who are much better than me just because I drew better. I mean, that seems ridiculous to me, but I guess it's just a reality. And if you give yourself the best winning percentage every time, then
Hmm.
you're bound to win more than other people. So I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing that distinguishes people over time. It's something where like one tournament, it's difficult to discern someone's skill, but over time, and a lot of tournaments and or a lot of ladder, you get to know who the really good players are. So
Amaz doing work.
Yeah,
yeah,
Great
yeah, he is.
tournament. What a beast.
speaking of tournaments, what are some cool tournaments or cool event slash tournaments coming up, Chan man?
All right, so the big one this week that was announced, or just today that was announced, is DreamHack Valencia, and there's always been rumors. Lothar was actually updating us constantly on just the details of it, but they finally announced it today. Let me show you guys. And again, it's going to be in Spain. This DreamHack is not going to be as big as DreamHack Summer because DreamHack Summer is the actual land, so that's traditionally a much bigger event. It's produced by the DreamHack team. This will be more similar to the Bucharest event where they'll have a local partner there be doing it. So they just announced it. It's in 2 weeks, so it's pretty soon. You can sign up for it. There's going to be 128 slots. The prize is going to be 3,000 euros, and it's going to be a Swiss format, top 16 single elimination bracket. After the Swiss is just the results of the Swiss are decided, and yeah, hopefully we'll see a lot of players there too. There won't be an English cast there, so there'll have to be more of a online community kind of cast. And not sure who's doing it. Actually, somebody asked me today, if I could, kind of help organize that. So we'll have to figure out what's happening there. So there'll be a Spanish cast at the event itself. But yeah, it'd be great to see some of the top players there too. And I don't think there's any other events announced. Some other kind of community events that are going on is that the Blizzard community team announced the Fireside. They added something to the Fireside gatherings, which is really cool because I've organized the Fireside gathering, and I'm going to organize another one in the first weekend of August. This weekend, I believe, and the first weekend of August, they're going to give the winners of these Fireside Gathering tournaments, because the organizers are running tournaments now at these things, a chance to qualify for the Zotac pre-qualifier tournaments, which is kind of cool because it kind of leads into this whole storyline of BlizzCon. So pulling in this whole kind of community thing with the Fireside gathering thing is really, really a great idea. So they'll be doing that too. And again, all the organizers, Fireside Gathering organizers out there should look into this, get some more details on this, and hopefully you folks that play Hearthstone can maybe figure into this BlizzCon storyline and maybe even play Hafu in the regional qualifier or whatever. That would be kind of funny. But I think that's about it for events. I don't think there's any other big event coming up. There's a lot of online, just tournaments that you've been seeing, like the Well Played event in the Millennium Cup that we saw this past weekend. I think there's going to be some more of those. None of them quite announced yet, but yeah, that's about it, Trump.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's go on a break,
Yeah.
and when we come back, we're gonna answer the questions that you submit to the Reddits.
Yeah. All right.
Woo!
We'll be right back.